Welcome to Kenomitian Universe News. In our news tonight, the digital world of Beulah is facing a new kind of haunting.
Experts have confirmed the rise of jinxes, digital ghosts that are blurring the line between code and the soul, forcing us to confront whether the afterlife has migrated online.
We go now to our correspondent Lysander Teal live from a compromised virtual reality server for an update on the unsettling rise of the jinxes. Lysander, can you hear us?
I can, Stephen. I'm currently inside a quarantined virtual reality forum where a team of necromancers and digital afterlife specialists are grappling with what they call a jinx. Jinxes are a new and terrifying phenomenon. They are not tied to physical objects, but instead anchor themselves to digital artifacts like profile pages and data clusters. They manifest as monstrous worms of circuitry and sinew, haunting virtual spaces and leaving behind corrupted data that can have profound psychological effects on the living.
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
News from a world that shouldn't exist, but does.
This has sparked a new debate over data sanctity and how we as a society mourn and remember the dead in an increasingly digital world. The implications for the digital afterlife industry and our own spiritual well-being are immense.
A grim warning indeed. Thank you, Lysander, for that report. Read the full story on Kenomitian Universe News website.
In our top stories this week, the steelpunk tide of the Abba de Rabuta has finally met a breaking point. After generations of relentless conquest, their war machine is stalled, bogged down in a grueling, attritional conflict against the unyielding forces of the Nusian Kingdom and the People's Republic of Zalgo.
On the ground, the Rabutan mobile city-states are proving ineffective against Nusian golems in the extreme altitudes of the Kunlun Range. Simultaneously, a fierce aerial battle rages over the Zalgian flying landmasses, where the dreaded Astrastar swarms have met their match. This unexpected resistance has thrown the Rabutan war doctrine into disarray, as their logistical networks strain under the pressure of prolonged conflict. The Eastern Hemisphere watches a war once driven by conquest, now mired in a battle of attrition.
Tonight, a grave threat has emerged from the industrial heart of the Maharajanate. This week in Kenoma, a primordial terror has re-emerged, causing a crisis in the heart of the Maharajanate. A Nigoda, a sentient magical construct, has materialized in the Patali industrial hub, and its presence is tearing the community in two.
In Patali, the terrifying Nigoda, a grotesque tower of discordant matter, is consuming everything in its path, from raw materials to living beings. Its arrival has caused widespread panic and an unknown number of disappearances. The Dharmist priesthood has issued a public safety alert, warning that the entity is a profound spiritual threat to the soul's reincarnation process, or Gilgul. This is in direct conflict with the extraterritorial corporation Pantagruel Inc., which has told its workers to minimize panic and prioritize production. The crisis has not only halted industry, but is also disrupting magical rituals across the region. The Maharajanate is reportedly considering severe sanctions against Pantagruel if the corporation fails to comply with national safety directives, leaving the future of the Patali hub dangerously uncertain.
This week, the curtain is pulled back on the Gaotu Empire's so-called democracy. Our shocking exposé reveals that the government is not what it seems. We go to our correspondent, who has the full rundown on the puppet masters pulling the strings.
In a new report shaking the foundations of the Gotu Empire, it has been revealed that the official government is merely a front. Ancient Shinodi clans, not elected officials, are the true power. Our investigation highlights the Koga clan, who use occult rituals to guide military strategy, the Fuma clan, who act as the nobility's clandestine assassins, and the Iga clan, who have a stranglehold on the criminal underworld. The capitalist systems and elections are a carefully orchestrated charade to conceal their iron grip over all facets of Gotu life.
Good evening and welcome to Kenomitian Universe News. In our top story, the Kingdom of Albion finds itself at the center of a magical and ethical crisis. The Albion Historical Society has announced the temporary reanimation of a zombified knight from the early Gnostic era, sparking widespread outrage. We go now to our field reporter Lysander Thiel with the full report. Lysander, what can you tell us about this controversial project?
In a controversial move for the sake of cryodynamic research, the Albion Historical Society used a necromantic procedure to temporarily reactivate a medieval knight. The project successfully extracted vivid memories of brutal tourneys and a life of combat, but has been met with condemnation from traditionalists and religious sects across Kenoma. While a consultant from the Cult of the Cave was brought in to ensure the knight's soul remained within the Gilgol cycle, critics argue the project sets a dangerous precedent. The scientific community is now divided, and the debate over the sanctity of the Kenomitan soul versus the pursuit of knowledge rages on.
And in our top story of the week, a horrifying report from the depths of the Bythos superocean reveals how the promise of progress in Paraplax has turned into a creeping ecological nightmare. A new report from Kenomitian Universe News exposes a silent catastrophe unfolding in the technocracy.
That's right. The technocracy of Paraplex, once a beacon of nanopunk technology, is now choking on its own refuse. A new investigative report exposes a mounting ecological disaster as a deluge of electronic waste and a disregard for ethical disposal poison the Bythos superocean. The most grotesque manifestation? Discarded war machines, now animated by emergent artificial sentiences, roam as unpredictable scrap lords, leaking deadly toxins and fueling regional instability. With deep-sea ecosystems degrading into dead zones and the augmented populace suffering severe health consequences, the crisis in Paraplax is a grim reminder of the price of unchecked ambition.
Welcome to Kenomitian Universe News. Our story this time is about Sabath's socialist state, long considered an unstoppable force, now crumbling under the weight of its own ambition. With wars raging on every frontier, the empire's overextension is sparking a wave of resistance and even rebellion at home. We go now to our field reporter, David Bond.
The cassette futurist state is now entangled in a complex web of conflict. In the West, its conventional forces are struggling against the Tesla-punk warriors of Thule and the network-based resistance of the liberated peoples of Cyrenaids. To the east, a war of attrition with the mobile city-states of the Confederation of Aba de Rabuta continues to bleed its resources. The greatest threat, however, may be internal. A growing civil war in the Harkania region, fueled by discontent over forced recruitment, is exposing the deep cracks within the regime. The official line from Otharia remains defiant, but on the streets, the costs of this sprawling war is becoming all too visible.
A grim picture indeed. Thank you, David, for that sobering report. Good evening. The Sacred Heart of Sophia is under siege tonight, not by war, but by a plague of its own making. A mysterious illness, dubbed Mad Vamp Syndrome, is sweeping through the population, threatening to upend a millennia-old religious tradition and sparking widespread unrest. Our field reporter Rachel Akibwe is on the ground with the latest. Rachel, what can you tell us about this Mad Vamp Syndrome?
The contagion has been linked to the consumption of blood-based dishes, a sacred act in Sophia. Investigations have traced the contamination to the Ballos Conglomerate, a league of independent blood farmers on flying landmasses. This has exposed a critical vulnerability: the nation's reliance on an unregulated industry for a spiritual lifeline. The princes have temporarily suspended all Ballos operations, but the crisis has already ignited public fury and is forcing the Hamian priesthood to consider a fundamental shift in their religious doctrine.
Thank you, Rachel. Read the full story at Kenomitian Universe News.
Good evening, loyal citizens of Kenoma. This is Kenomian Universe News. Disturbing reports are emerging from the Kyrian Kritarchy. Official channels speak of anomalous outbreaks, but rumors point to something older and more sinister. Based on the investigation of Merrick Zahn, whom we'll be contacting live from Zion Kyrios.
Merrick, what is really happening out there, and why are so many denying it?
Thank you, Stephen. Here in Zion, the air itself feels heavy. The so-called authorities mocked those who look beyond the mundane, but facts are catching up.
This is not rogue biology or fickle weather. It's a sign. Texts from the pneumatic era and outlawed testimonies converge. The veil is thinning, and a primordial swarm is breaching our plane. All threads point to a single entity, Abaddon, the man-locust. This is not mutation, it is cosmic will. Chronicles describe a seven-headed locust husk with emerald eyes. Within, a palace of false delights, peopled by creatures wearing children's skin as finery. His Mazakin avatars aren't mere insects. They consume flesh and siphon organ, leaving whole blocks silent.
Why the Kritarchy? Their faith in the emissaries of the ineffable and their geopolitical reach make them both target and hinge.
Extra-dimensional colonies, Jedediah, Abizabuth, cositis report distortions, failed harvests, blackened skies, corrupted ecosystems. These are not isolated events. They form a pattern of consumption and desecration.
My message is plain. Do not sleep. If the blood-red twilight of Yaldabaoth already stains your horizon, take it as an alarm.
Shield your cities, circulate this report, and fortify the spirit. The king of the flesh-eating locusts is at the gate. Zion may be next.
In our top stories tonight, a spiritual crisis that could redefine the very nature of life and death in Ariath. A new report reveals that the dead are no longer resting. Their unresolved stories are haunting the living, and the very fabric of our reality may be at risk. Our reporter George Crowley is in Premysl with more on the Shades in Stasis report. George, what can you tell us about this disturbing rise in hauntings?
The Kenomitian cycle of reincarnation is failing, and trapped spirits, known as ghosts, are creating reality-warping echoes. Karcists and necromancers are working tirelessly to release these souls, but their efforts are being complicated by a new political conflict. While some factions call for sacred rituals, others are lobbying to commodify exorcism services and harvest ectoplasm. The city's leaders are now locked in a debate over whether to treat this as a moral crisis or a market opportunity. This is a developing story that has profound implications for all of Kenoma.
Thank you for that report, George. A fascinating and troubling situation indeed.
In our top stories tonight, a cataclysm of a different kind. The Eblic Scourge, a supernatural sandstorm of fire and black magic, has brought the Shikanates of Albedo to a standstill. Our reporter, Sarah Nakatomi, breaks down the core impacts on the Orobaran Caliphate.
The Iblic Scourge is a vortex of superheated fire and toxic dust, believed to be a breach of cosmological boundaries. It's not just a weather event, it's a supernatural force that is destroying the Caliphate's diesel-punk infrastructure and testing its society's faith. As Caliph Dunel's administration issues emergency directives for survival, the populace is in a state of panic, torn between interpretations of divine trial and diabolic punishment. The crisis highlights the grim reality of life on Kenoma, where the natural and supernatural are constantly at war.
In the dying light of a sacred city, a single arcanist channels the last of its magic against a mechanical titan.
Welcome back to the Kenomitian Universe News. Our top story tonight comes from the Turanian Mideast, where the brutal and eternal desert dance has taken a grim new turn.
We go live now to our field reporter, David Bond, on the ground near the front lines. David, what is the situation like there?
Good evening, Sarah. The city of Harmozl, a sacred bastion of clockpunk ingenuity and Hastorian faith, has fallen. In a devastating pre-dawn assault, the expansionist Ouroboran Caliphate overwhelmed the city's defenses with their ruthless diesel-punk military. This isn't just a territorial conquest, it's a symbolic and strategic victory with far-reaching consequences. Our sources confirm the Caliphate has seized control of Harmozel's key asset, a direct, active portal to the realm of Chakma. This act of profound ambition threatens to disrupt centuries of religious pilgrimages and occultist studies across Kenoma. The fallout is already being felt. Reports of ethnic cleansing have emerged, with the Malebranche Society of Arcanists managing to extract vital scholars in a desperate effort to preserve knowledge. This brutal victory ensures that the cycle of violence will only intensify, cementing the Caliphate's power while galvanizing new resistance. We'll continue to monitor the escalating tensions in the Tyrrhenian Mideast.
Thank you, David Bond, for that report. We will continue to follow this story.
We don't mine rock, we mine nightmares.
From earth and light we shape the unseen. Let the pulse guide the mind.
Welcome to your weekly update of Kenomitian Universe news. This week, we discuss the chilling report from our field correspondent, George Crowley. The abyss of Sakhlitz, once a hub of trade, has become the epicenter of a crisis. The brutal harvesting of living fiends and the colossal remains of giants. George, the question on everyone's mind is, what is the price of this wealth?
Thank you, Nina. Our investigation has revealed a perilous new trade driven by industrial hunger for rare biominerals. Corporations are now harvesting living fiends and the celestial remains of giants, known as Yelidhim, as raw material for profit. Hunters face down nightmares to cut samples from creatures still writhing, while the remains of giants are being stripped, risking the unraveling of the cosmic spheres.
In this world, we don't mine rock, we mine nightmares.
Animist scholars warn this isn't just resource gathering, it's a desecration that sickens the land and distorts the Odic cycle, creating barren, ghost landscapes. Clashes have already erupted between miners and protesters, proving that the hunger for metals may be burning hotter than the cosmos can endure.
Thank you, George. That's a truly sobering report.
News from a world that shouldn't exist, but does.
Some things can never be unwritten.
Good evening, and welcome to this edition of Kenomitian Universe News. Our top story this hour, the chilling ethical debate surrounding the psychomantic practice of epimorphing. A rare interview with Partsufum-level psychomancer Jenna Glass has brought the contentious subject of mind rewriting back into the public eye. We go live to our field correspondent, George Crowley, who sits down with Jenna Glass to discuss the ethics of her work and the souls she leaves behind. George, can you set the scene for us?
Thank you, Nina. In a revealing conversation, Glass detailed the process of epimorphism, which she uses to prevent clones and uplifted Plavadi from regressing into savagery. But the practice comes at a cost, she warns, with each rewrite risking the creation of whites, the ghostly echoes of a person's former self.
They linger.
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
News from a world that shouldn't exist, but does.
While defending her work as a necessary evil, Glass was unflinching in her condemnation of nations like Stepanos, which used the technology for widespread social control.
This is not a state. It is a machine.
The full article is available on our website, Kenomitian Universe News.
Thank you, George. The moral weight of these tools, as Jenna Glass puts it, rests on the intent and care of the practitioner. The debate continues. Welcome to Kenomitian Universe News. Our news tonight comes from the turbulent coast of Zuvendis, where an old evil has found a new home.
In a crisis that's shaking the foundations of both state and corporate power, a sinister new force is preying on the shipping lanes. Our field reporter, Merrick Zahn, is on the scene to bring us the grim details of what's happening at sea and in the port towns.
Thank you, Nina. The Asanbosam Prides, a notorious mix of pirates and cultists, are exploiting jurisdictional gaps between the Ikasat Republic and megacorporations like Mendus International.
They're demanding ransoms, leaving behind burned hulls, and most disturbingly, returning captives who are changed through dark mimicry.
Parish clinics are reporting a surge in bite and burn trauma, and official responses remain muddled.
We'll be back in 15 seconds.
News from a world that shouldn't exist, but does.
We're tracking the story of how an old evil is thriving in the new gaps of corporate law.
Thank you, Merrick, for that disturbing report. The Lanese stay restless, cash or fire. We'll continue to monitor the situation. Read the full story on our Kenomitian Universe news website.